5 to 9 already.
Still cutting lemons in half with just one squeeze of juice? Check out this hack.
Well, biologists are baffled at what is killing birds across several states in the country, including Ohio.
Several birds across central Ohio, like this one, are dying for unknown reasons and unknown disease.
New information this morning about the unexplained increase in sick and dying songbirds in multiple states.
Concern continues to grow about a mysterious illness affecting songbirds all across the Midwest. Conservation officials say the strange disease has not been detected in
after reports of sick and dying songbirds. But it's not just happening there. Cases have been reported in Kentucky and Ohio as well.
You may have noticed, have you seen any birds around that have been dying? Wildlife officials say it's become a big problem. Mysterious deaths of birds all over, including right here in Pennsylvania and Delaware, so many of our counties. People are finding these dead birds in 27 different counties just in Pennsylvania.
An illness linked to a mysterious medical condition. Experts don't know if this can be passed to people or pets.
Hello, everybody.
Information tonight on reports that songbirds in central Indiana are dying off because of a mysterious illness. Conservation officers tell us it's happening in other states too. And now we've heard similar reports coming from Ohio, Kentucky, even Washington, D.C. Wildlife officials say they can't really figure out what's going on.
But over the last few weeks, bird watchers have noticed something strange.
Eye crustiness, eye discharge, and swollenness in the eyes, as well as neurological symptoms.
There have been links to maybe pesticide or herbicide uses, or this could be a disease that we're not familiar with. You know, they have tested negative for avian influenza. They've tested negative for West Nile virus.
And he says if you find a dead songbird, best not to touch it. Right now, they just don't know if what's killing the birds can be passed on to humans. Jin hopes they find answers soon.
Sad, really sad, you know. It's birds is a nature.
All new tonight, birds across the region are dying from something. And as bird watchers grow concerned, 7 News reporter Stephanie Grindley met with the West Virginia DNR.
A mysterious illness is killing birds in Kentucky.
A mysterious illness in birds has now been reported here in central Kentucky. The Department of Fish and Wildlife is now asking people in Madison County to take down their feeders as they try to learn more about what's killing these animals.
It's devastating. It's potentially devastating.
The concern for bird lovers is growing.
Once I start hearing large numbers like that, it sounds like we have some sort of a credible epidemic on our hands, and people should take it seriously.
But now Kentucky Fish and Wildlife says this unknown illness has been reported in our area. The states reporting the illness have also recently expanded to include Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania.
If it's spreading as quickly as it is,
Virginia, Maryland, and the D.C. metro area started to see strange cases around the end of May. Berkeley and Jefferson County is where West Virginia is seeing birds keel over since the start of June. Swollen, crusty eyes, blindness, and head tilts, and one more thing.
And they've all been juvenile birds, which is interesting. And that kind of tracks with what other states are seeing.
Throughout all her years here at the Ohio Wildlife Center, Interim Executive Director Stormy Gibson says she's never seen a disease quite like this. Since the start of this month, the center has identified multiple cases of an unknown illness in songbird species across central Ohio, the symptoms of which include a white crust in birds' eyes, leading to blindness, as well as damage to their nervous system, leaving them unable to fly.
And eventually death. This blue jay was found in West Akron, but the cause of death is not known.
The disease has also been identified in several states, including Virginia, Delaware, Maryland, Indiana, and West Virginia. Now, there have been several theories that cicadas infected with pesticides may be causing these symptoms in birds, but biologists and wildlife experts say this is all merely speculation because the disease is popping up in states where cicadas aren't even present. Local for you in Columbus, I'm Jonathan Jackson, NBC4.
Reporter Stephanie Stahl talked to one of the lead investigators about this troubling situation. Stephanie?
Well, Yuki, in the past 2 days, there have been 160 reports of dead songbirds in Pennsylvania. We want to let you know we have pictures of some of the dead birds that are being investigated. The dead and sick songbirds are all young with swollen, crusty eyes and have neurologic symptoms.
Some of them had head tremors or they're unable to stand. We were shocked.
Dr. Scott Weber, a wildlife expert at Penn Vet, says this is impacting many common backyard birds like blue jays. The mysterious bird illness, first reported in Washington, D.C., has spread up the mid-Atlantic and into the Midwest. There are hundreds of reports.
The bird disease of unknown origin brings about a quick death. Even if the infected bird were still alive by the time it comes to the center, Jordan says euthanasia would be their only option.
Well, it's hard. It really is. There's no hope for these guys. It is scary in a way because we went through this with West Nile virus back in the early 2000s. And that was a very frightening situation. And we had our freezers full of dead birds and no one knew what was going on.
The illness has been reported in Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio, Indiana.
Did you feel it this morning? Some strong shaking just after 9 a.m. felt south of Compton through Huntington Beach. Bet you thought it was an earthquake. Well, I didn't feel it, but our local earthquake expert, Dr. Lucy Jones, says, if you thought it was an earthquake, you would be wrong. She tweeted this. People have been asking about the earthquake, in quotes, in LA about 9:20 this morning. Many people report feeling it, but the seismograms clearly show the earth was not moving, only the air. So she says it was a sonic boom. Boom. There you go. Now you know.
Wait, it's the whole thing. Oh, yeah. What the hell's going on? I don't know, but look at the other side. Over. Look at the other side. What's happening? What do you see? Is it just a dirt slide? Wow, I don't know what's going on. Oh, it's an earthquake. Huh? It was an earthquake.
Now, a 9 of magnitude 6.0 earthquake struck south of Lake Tahoe near a California and Nevada border this afternoon. And the aftershocks, they were felt right here in the Bay Area.
Felt from Tahoe to the Bay Area to Las Vegas.
Could be felt for nearly 200 miles. A lot of light fixtures swinging, chandeliers swaying.
The rocks now blocking a number of narrow mountain passes.
This is the road shut down, and you can see the perspective from inside the vehicle. Cars are slowing down, and look at those
They're not hacking into your phone.
MoneyGram.
Those big boulders on the eastern side of the Sierra that came tumbling down that hill, blocking Highway 395. I mean, these are some big boulders. We don't know if the boulders have caused any damage to any cars, but you can see people literally like an obstacle course having to weave in and out of those boulders, and no wonder 395 is shut down. And look how far away the center of this thing is. This is way over here along the California-Nevada border. That's the size of the quake that we were able to feel it from that far away.
Took place 250 miles away east and south of San Francisco. Again, 6.0 magnitude earthquake.
It just felt like my office was shaking quite a bit. You know, about the longest earthquake I've felt since living here for 20 years. So.
The ground itself seemed to shake extensively more. It really rolled. I mean, you could literally see the ground moving.
And that shaking continued after the initial quake. USGS says more than 40 aftershocks were reported.
This is video from Colville, California. You can see the boulders flying there in the distance. Really, that rock slide. This is near that California-Nevada border. You see all the dust up from that shot from 395 freeway. And more than 200 miles away in San Jose and San Francisco, video shows a plant.
Just had an earthquake here, and it's caused my chandeliers to shake. My grandfather clock, look over there, chandelier's rocking. Whew, scared me something awful.
Yeah, I think we're going to call this a Thursday sway, because that's pretty much what it was, right? You're kicking back on a Thursday afternoon, and everyone felt the swing.
The shaking continues in the Sierra. Less than an hour ago, a magnitude 4.4 quake hit the same area where we saw rock slides and other big problems today.
There was an eerie kind of a calm, and then it was more of a meandering shake, not violent. The entire building here shook from side to side for 1 to 2 seconds. Then there was a pause, and then it shook again.
While this is the largest earthquake to hit the region since 1994, USGS says it's not uncommon.
We're not asking anybody to make any political statement one way or another. We're saying try and save your life and that of your family and that of the community. Here we have a vaccine that's highly, highly effective. It's easy to get, it's free, and it's readily available. So, you've got to ask, what is the problem? Get over it. Get over this political statement. Just get over it and try and save the lives of yourself and your family.
Anthony Fauci, what is he doing? If you actually think politics is involved with people not taking it, and let's say you thoroughly believe that, if you actually believe it, then the first thing you will say is, my attention, Trump supporters, if you are not doing this because Joe Biden's president, it was Operation Warp Speed under the previous president that you likely voted for, you one of the 75 million, that put this together, that over 1 million shots in arms was happening before Donald Trump left office. If you really think it's pure politics, Sandra Smith is here, getting set to host her show, America Reports, from 1 to 3 today. Sandra, welcome back.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me.
So I was shocked to hear him say, get over it. It's politics. Is that really his job? Get over it?
Even though I had already heard that, hearing it again, it made me think,
Why? Why does he go there? His job could have been this entire time to simply relay the facts, what he knows, obviously advise on what is best to get us through this pandemic. But it seems to me that's more of a political statement than anything. And Brian, I think this goes to the root of the biggest concern, mainly coming from the right, is the slippery slope that may come as a result of the White House saying, we're now going door to door. We're going to ring your doorbell, and if you're not vaccinated, we are going to mandate that you are. Jim Jordan tweeted out today, the Biden administration wants to knock on your door to see if you're vaccinated. What's next? Knocking on your door to see if you own a gun. You know, it's just another reason people are worried about the government just completely taking over our lives. Reasonable concern when you hear Dr. Fauci, who has been an authority through this pandemic, say, get over it. I think that rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
So the door-to-door concept, you think they'd back off of? Everyone was kind of offended by that. It seemed mostly Republicans, but they've doubled down yesterday. Here's Jen Psaki, cut 32.
What we're trying to do here as the federal government is protect the American people and save lives, prevent people from getting COVID and the coronavirus. It's up to every individual to decide whether they're going to get vaccinated, but especially as we're seeing reports from the CDC about the rise of the Delta variant, one of the most transmissible variants we've seen there. This is about protecting people and saving lives. That's a role we're going to continue to play from the federal government and use any of the tools and tactics that we think will be effective.
So it's about saving lives. It's their job. So I shouldn't go cliff diving. I shouldn't go deep sea fishing. What else shouldn't I do? Should I not play rugby because I could break my nose? What else does the government not think I should be doing?
I think the translation from Psaki there is, we know better than you. But to be sure, the White House has so far rejected calls to mandate the national vaccine passport. Right, Brian? They have also said that they're going to leave it up to companies and schools whether or not they're going to require vaccines. I don't know if you're impressed by that or if that shocks you at all, but that is the case so far. It is up to the commander-in-chief to decide whether or not they will mandate this for members of the military. But more than 500, I'm looking out to the fall because obviously you saw a lot of the headlines in the various papers this morning about the return of the indoor mask mandate in so many areas. What's going to happen when schools reopen in the fall? I asked our brain firm for some data this morning. More than 570 colleges have already announced that vaccines will be mandatory for fall attendance. And when you've got headlines about these variants happening all over the world and Japan going to emergency mode now because of COVID cases and all that, what is the fall going to look like? Are we going to return to masks on all the kids K through 12 in our classrooms? I mean, we're already weeks away from some of these schools starting back up in the fall.
I know, it's unbelievable. And that's just another thing I want to discuss with you is what's happening at the CRT and what Randy Weingarten was saying. But I'll back up a little bit. My daughters, two, are going to be going. One's going to be going to college. The other one is in college. They were both told it's a private school, need vaccine to get on campus. So they did it. And one's 17, one's 19. So now 20, my bad. 18, 20. I'm going to get in trouble. Yeah. That's one bad thing about being on 77 WABC. They can hear us in New York. So they're 18 and 20. But I want you to hear another story. So you're big into the track community, and I'm with soccer. And one of the players that play with my brother has a son that's going to college this year. And his one son got the shot, no problem. His other son got the shot, and he still can't recover from it. Listen to what he told us.
He was required to get the vaccine for schools. I never thought anything of it. You know, everything is low risk. Everybody said it's fine. And then a week later, I came home and he started telling me that his heart was hurting him. Next thing I know, next day, I get a call like, this bad news. He needs to go to the hospital. His troponin levels were off the chart. But they told me it was normal, was like 40. He had like 9,000. He's got a heart condition, and he can't do all the things he loves to do. He can't hang out with his friends and do, things that 17-year-olds do. And the biggest part, he can't play soccer in the fall, which broke his heart and my heart.
Myocarditis. So he had inflammation of the heart. And as he went home, he said, I'm not recovering. He goes, how do you feel? He goes, every time my heart beat, it hurts. So they had to bring him to the hospital, and he still can't recover. He can't break a sweat. He can't exert himself. How do you tell a 17-year-old not to even, that's walking upstairs. So this went from an elite athlete, college soccer player, to this. And the dad feels guilty. And I say this, Sandra, instead of being a doctor and a politician, why not say, listen, I understand there are some cases out there of myocarditis that are popping up for teens. We're going to look into that. Part of it could be, my humble opinion, is that the kid had antibodies already. The whole family had it. So if you have antibodies, why isn't that part of this conversation? Save the money on shots, give it to Nigeria or Somalia or Uganda or Norway. They need it. Japan needs it. And then you say, along with the COVID-19, it's so easy to get the COVID-19 test, right? Yep. Anyone can get it. So just get the antibody test. Excuse me, Sandra, you had it. You still have the antibodies. I'm going to say 6 months, come back and see if you still have it. Yep. Then we might have a problem with certain bodies, certain metabolisms saying, I already have the antibodies. You just shot them into me again. Yeah. I got a problem with the mRNA, or how Johnson & Johnson, when you actually shoot the antibodies in, how they factor in with the antibodies that are there already. So maybe that's the case. Do you give someone with polio the polio vaccine? Yeah. Who had it already? It just doesn't feel like they're taking that into consideration. Kids are our priority. I think there's individual cases. It seems like there's a blanket statement. Everybody get vaccinated before you return to school. The Fox poll also surprised me. 51% of voters say employers should be able to mandate the vaccine. That was a majority of the respondents. So people want to feel safe when they go back to work, but that's not that age group. 44% of voters say businesses should require proof of vaccine. 49% say they should not. I know you just showed me your barcode. I think that's going to be fascinating as we all cram back in these spaces. Concerts are happening, but schools in the fall, I think, is the big question mark. And that's terribly sad when you hear a case like that. So the market's down 200, it was down more than that, but 275 points right now, right? And so it was down 500 earlier. You're the business expert, but when I was here, I was trying to find out what the reason was, and they were saying it was the Delta variant. And I said, is that for real? The Delta variant ticking up numbers, deaths are still way down, ticking up numbers slightly, but the Delta variant's handled by the vaccine. Sandra, we're making decisions. It's not up to me for you to get a vaccine or me to get a vaccine. I'm not going to get you sick. You're not going to get me sick. It's infinitesimal chances of me getting sick. So it doesn't matter if somebody next to you is vaccinated or not. If the numbers go up, it's the numbers go up. If someone drinks and drives, it's a bad decision, but I can't control them. I can't control if they get high and drive. It's not up to me. As soon as anyone could get the vaccine, this game changed. And I think he should continue to do the PSAs and push it forward. But I also go back to what Victor David Hansen said. One of the reasons he keeps talking about it, it's his only good news story. I think so, but he missed his self-imposed deadline, right? That was still I think that's still an absolutely step back and think about that. I mean, nearly 70% of the population got a vaccination. Yeah. I mean, that's a really, really big deal. When it comes to the markets, I think the variants are a concern, but the variants have been an issue for a while, so I don't know that would be the one-day spook for these markets. What do you think it is? The market's sitting at all-time highs, record highs, despite the fact that we still are not done with this pandemic. It's not over. You still got, hot spots happening all over the world. Japan going into emergency mode. No fans at the Olympics. This is a system that has had an immense amount of money pumped into it. I mean, the amount of stimulus that is out there, Brian, when we still can't get people to go fill 9 million open jobs out there, people are getting checks. They're sitting on a lot of cash and savings from the pandemic. I heard, do you hear that number? 46% have taken their pandemic money and invested it? Absolutely. Are you kidding? You're taking money that we borrowed. Meme stocks, Bitcoin, yeah. So that's a real thing. And do you think this is part of, no one talks about inflation. If I was him, I wouldn't. I would actually talk about inflation. You do. Do you talk about common goods that are affected? My daughter's starting to drive, and the first thing she said to me, I can't believe how expensive gas got. I'm like, wow, it's up $1. So nice of her to notice. If a 20-year-old is picking that up, if a 20-year-old is picking that up, can you imagine the family who's living paycheck to paycheck? Now, all of a sudden, housing's up 12%, used cars are up 30%, general transportation up 11%, clothing up 5.6%, food up 2%, let alone lumber. Try building a house right now, yeah. And gas is up. Last year at this time, premium was $2.78. Now it's $3.74. So it's a full $1. Yeah. It makes a difference. But what good is wage growth if that money is going directly back into your payment at Walmart or Costco or wherever you're going to feed your family or clothe your family? Housing prices
cars are at record highs. Sales are still up. Brian, the price of absolutely everything has gone up. But the White House is in denial about the inflation story, and I'm not quite sure why that is. And the markets have been in denial of the inflation story. So your daughter notices the price of gas going sky high, but yet the markets don't seem to care. It seems, and I had an economist tell me this recently, that the markets have bought the Fed's transitory comment, hook, line, and sinker, that this inflation story is not here to stay and that will eventually go away. But then you get a day like today where the markets are spooked. The Dow was down 500 points a few minutes ago. I think people start to question, like, is there enough really good fundamentals to render the record high prices that we're seeing in the Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ? And what really would be the catalyst for a turnaround in that market? And I do believe inflation is the next big deal. And if you can't get people to go back to work, can we afford to continue to cut the checks that is stimulating that market and this U.S. economy?
Well, the other thing, there's two things that you just brought up that I think is worthy of emphasizing. We're going to put another $1 trillion, if a bipartisan bill goes through, another $1 trillion, $560 billion, which will be new money, into our economy, a bipartisan passing. And then they're going to jam a reconciliation bill of up to $4 trillion down our throats, while states scramble to spend $330 billion of pandemic money before it's taken back or done something. So if you think inflation's a problem now, do the math. It's only going to get worse. Money we don't have. We're $33 trillion in debt, so we're over budget every month, and we're putting more in for an emergency that we're not in anymore.
Yeah, and the Fed has shown no signs of raising interest rates. So we're still in this free money environment while we have this record-breaking stock market and this hot economy. I go back to Larry Summers, worked under the Obama administration. He's usually a left-wing economist. He stepped in and saying, isn't it the job of the Fed to take away the punch bowl before the party gets out of control? And that is what I believe that markets fear has happened.
I went on Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We love this section of the world. It's a beautiful section. We appreciate it very much. And I'm thrilled to be back in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania so much. This is the state where the story of American independence began. It's the state where the American Constitution was signed. Think of that. And 3 days from now, this is the state that will save the American dream. On November 3rd, we're going to win Pennsylvania, and we are going to win 4 more years in that very beautiful White House. We're gathered today in a very special place. In the harrowing days of December 1776, when the American Revolution seemed lost, General George Washington made his headquarters at this Bucks County farmhouse to plan his famous crossing of the Delaware. On Christmas night, he led what remained, and remained, very little remained, of that ragtag continental
Still cutting lemons in half with just one squeeze of juice? Check out this hack.
Listening. I pray that faith reigns in our lives instead of fear. I pray that joy is in our minds instead of sadness. I pray that peace reigns in our hearts and minds instead of worry and anxiety. Lord Jesus, at this time, let your power fall in our lives as we
is a human right. It goes to the heart of what it means to be human.
to think freely, follow our conscience, change our beliefs if our hearts and minds lead us to do so, and express our beliefs in public and in private. This freedom is enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's also part of the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Freedom of religion or belief, like every human right, is universal. All individuals everywhere are entitled to it, no matter where they live, or what they believe, or don't believe. And religious freedom is co-equal with other human rights. And human rights are indivisible. For example, a person's right to speak, assemble, or participate in the political life of their country are all connected to freedom of religion or belief. When that freedom is jeopardized, the others are too. The United States is committed to defending and advancing human rights, and religious freedom is a vital component of our diplomacy. Every day, our team in the Office of International Religious Freedom at the State Department in Washington, along with American diplomats around the world, work with local religious communities and civil society advocates to track threats to religious freedom, coordinate responses, and lift up solutions. In recent years, the United States has expanded partnerships with like-minded governments to press others to address the systemic and structural challenges that undermine religious freedom. And we've seen some promising responses, including transformational change in Sudan and Uzbekistan, which has long been designated by our government as countries of particular concern for their severe abuses, and are now on a much better path toward protecting the rights of their citizens. We're looking forward to appointing an ambassador at large for international religious freedom in the coming weeks. We'll continue to work closely with civil society organizations, including many of you, to combat all forms of religiously motivated hatred, violence, and discrimination around the world. As those on the front lines, civil society members are often the first to report atrocities, abuses, persecution, and the first to offer support to those in desperate need of it. Whether by shining a spotlight on the worst offenders of religious freedom, reuniting those separated from their families, providing shelter and resettlement to those forced from their homes, facilitating the release of wrongfully detained individuals, or helping survivors to speak out against their abusers, we're often able to make a difference together. And we'll keep going. Our country was founded in part on the conviction that everyone should be free to believe what they choose. With the support of everyone gathered at this summit, we will maintain America's long-standing.
Yeah, really. Annoyed people. As a gaslighted me in 2018, all my family members. All my family members were involved. My older brother, racism, fake, everything. All blanked me. All of them. Look at his hand movement. Freemason, nasty pieces of work. They all involved. I knew it. My son blanked me at my own mum's funeral as well. Yep. Soon after my mum's funeral. 5th of June 2019. He didn't give a shit about me. He lied. It was out with family, with my own daughter and my granddaughter. He lied to me. Yeah, took his daughter out. My granddaughter. He didn't give a monkeys in 2019. Yeah. All these years has been talking. Two 14th of May 2019, the housing companies used others in England to set me up for years, more than ever. My son knew all along about this. Until they shadow banned me. Target me. The abuse. I've got years and years of evidence of gaslighting, targeting my own. Housing company in England, early hours of the morning, dropping cards, getting entry, knowing full well I can't do any calls. This is a housing company in England. I found all this just now. My sister involved. Oh, Portugal's on this place. Gaslight me. This is not a funeral of my late mum. Public servants. Every one of my family member. And gaslighting me. Then soon after, my older brother goes on holiday. You want to see a gaslight your brother? An LP. He just never had cared targetedjustice.com. Military microwave weapons used. All the 3 Tower Towers satellites.
He exposes gang stalking in his website lighthouse.com and also in his website targetjustice.com that you can see in the description below. He has written 100 ebooks. Some of them you can find it on his website for free. He has worked for NASA and holds a master's degree in mechanical engineering. Hi, Richard, how are you?
Hi, good afternoon, Chris. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you. Okay, I want to start talking about gang stalking, what gang stalking is for the people who does not know and maybe watching these interviews for the first time. So you could help